Our guest is from Trivandrum. I know it as Trivandrum, though they have changed the name now to,
yes.
I even can't pronounce that name, Trivantipuram or something like that.
Yes.
But when I was young, it was Trivandrum at that time, so I remember it that way. So Professor Valson Thampu, we welcome him today. He has been quite a theologian, a thinker and academic, and a priest also. But not a priest as we call the priestly class, which is in the, now we see it all over places. So he has served as principal St. Stephen's College, Delhi, for a long period of time, I think more than about 30 years. And he has been a member of the Delhi Minority Commission and National Commission of Minority, and he has been associated with educational institutions and National Integration Council, and vice chairman of the Christian Medical College, very famous. I think Dr. Jagjit Singh will be knowing about it well, or Christian Medical College. He has written about 18 books and about 1,000 articles, but his main specialization is equality in humanity. And beyond religion, we talk more about religion everywhere, but where does that religion lead to and where it should lead to? And it should be more on equality terms and humanitarian terms. It should be a joining force rather than it has become a force which is creating sort of a distractions and all other things, whatever is going on. So his topic today is why transcend religion. ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਚ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ, ਧਰਮ ਦੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਕੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ, ਧਰਮ ਤੋਂ ਪਾਰ ਕੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ. So welcome Dr. Valson, Professor Valson, sorry. And
good morning to everyone.
You are most welcome, and please take over. And please, ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, everybody should mute themselves, and then we will open up for question answer, then we conclude. Welcome, Professor Valson.
Thank you, Dr. Jagjit Singh. I'm happy to greet all of you. It gives me very special happiness whenever I get the opportunity to be with people who practice a religion other than my own. As a priest, I have had enough opportunities to be with Christians, but I consider it especially meaningful and valuable to be with people who practice other religions. My lifelong associate was Swami Agnivesh, an Adi Samaj leader, a spiritual reformer, social activist. Together we founded what we called Religions for Social Justice, which had the leaders from various religions as members. Professor Manjit Singh, Jathedar Manjit Singh was part of our group. And we attended the third centenary celebrations of the Khalsa at Anandapur Sahib, and we were honored there. So I've had much to do with the Sikh community, as also with other communities, and I've learned a lot from these things. So I want to particularly commend your open-mindedness, which I believe is very reflective of Guru Nanak's emphasis on common sense, reason, and the eagerness to transcend religious boundaries. And I believe that that's the way forward. So people like you have a far greater role and will have a greater role in the days ahead. And therefore, it makes sense to prepare yourself for it. Unfortunately, I cannot speak Punjabi. I wish I could. So I crave your indulgence in speaking a language which is not your mother tongue. English is not my mother tongue either. It was my bread and butter language. I earned my livelihood for nearly 45 years through English, but my mother tongue is Malayalam, which is spoken in Kerala. Now, before we got started, one among you asked me a question. Why different religions? अलग अलग तरह के मजहब क्यों होते हैं? Let me perhaps start with this. So the problem is not that there are different religions. The problem is that we do not know how to deal with differences. There are different types of cars, different types of food items, different cultural forms, but we don't quarrel because of them. Those who practice Bharatanatyam do not fight with those who practice Kuchipudi. Those who are experts in Kuchipudi do not fight with or kill those who prefer Bhangra. It's only in religion and to a certain extent in politics that this happens. So that's the first thing. We do not know how to deal with differences, and therefore we think that a person who is different from me is my enemy. And this problem is most acute in religions. Whereas, if you look at it commonsensically, one who is different from me is my greatest blessing. For example, if I'm a student, my teacher is different from me in the sense that he knows more or she knows more. Therefore, I can learn from him or her. Somebody who is only like me or somebody who is inferior to me is of no help to me. So we must change our attitude to differences. And our attitude to the world in general has been corrupted by religion because religion has the tendency, which is psychologically a sign of ill health. All religions have the tendency to shut up its members and separate camps and indoctrinate them to believe that those belonging to other camps are dangerous people or ungodly people, and we must be therefore as different from them as possible. बाकी जो लोग हैं वो सब खराब हैं, हमें उनसे दूर रखना है. जितना ज़्यादा उससे डिफरेंट हो सकते हैं उतना हमें डिफरेंट होना चाहिए. हो सके तो उनको ख़त्म करना भी चाहिए. ऐसा सोचने के लिए हम प्रेरित होते हैं. So this is a problem. And I have to say that this problem is not created by the founders of religion. जिन्होंने मजहब या हमारे जो स्पिरिचुअल ट्रेडिशंस है उसका शुरुआत किया, उन्होंने ये नहीं किया. उनके बाद जो प्रीस्टली पंडित लोग पुजारी लोग आए उनका करना है. This seed of alienation was sown by the priestly class that came after them. The founders of all religions were rational, commonsensical, enlightened people who all believed that humanity was one and that we must rise above all divisive thinking. And it's only those who came after them and who wanted to enslave their faith community and use them for their own interests who created this division. On the other hand, my idea of different religions is as follows. I learn a lot from nature. And many of you are scientists, so you will surely agree with me on this, that I understand religion like a tree in nature. Now, a tree, if you cut the trunk of a tree, it has many annual rings. These rings represent the growth of the tree. To me, there is only one religion, and various religions are like the annual rings of the tree. Now, some annual rings are deep inside, some are in the middle, some are in the outer circle or nearer the outer circle, near the bark. But they together constitute the tree. One annual ring cannot fight with the other annual rings and say, you are inferior, I am superior, therefore you get lost. I have nothing to do with you, you should have nothing to do with me. This is where the problem lies. I believe that God reveals himself in different periods, different contexts, through different people, according to the capacity of the people. And I believe that God continues to reveal himself. God doesn't have to reveal himself only through religion. God may reveal himself through art, for example. कला के माध्यम से खुदा अपने आप को रिवील कर सकता है. God may reveal himself through science. God may reveal himself through personal relationships. God may reveal himself through calamities. So there is no particular formula that binds God. It is up to the sovereign will of God to reveal himself. So in different parts, in different ways, God continues to reveal himself. And I believe that God may can reveal himself in a very powerful manner sometime in the future. Then we may have one more religion. And at that time, there is no need to worry about it. We must rejoice that God is living, and a living God must continue to reveal himself. So that's my idea of religion. I believe that only all religions together constitute religion. And any religion which makes its followers fight members of other religions is not religion, it is something other than religion. So that's the response to a question that I was asked at the beginning. Now let me come to the topic assigned to me. This topic, of course, is the title of my forthcoming book, which is my 19th book, titled Beyond Religion. The subtitle of the book is Imaging a New Humanity. Imaging, not imagining, imaging a new humanity. Now, the substance of the book was formed in a particular context. And that context is India in the immediate sense, but also the global scenario. I find everywhere religion being hijacked, abused, and religion, for example, becoming an excuse for global terrorism, religion becoming an excuse for communalizing the state, religion becoming the motive force for making people hate and kill each other. And I also find religion being used as a cover for corruption, inhumanity, etc. So, in this context, there is a need to think with an open mind about what religion was, has become, and should be. And that's more or less the context in which we are. Now, it is not for the first time that religion is becoming a source of corruption, crime, and inhumanity. For a very long time, religions have been a problem. For example, when we look at the history of Europe, we have had 130 years long wars, sectarian wars, and these wars were not fought between Christians and non-Christians. They were fought between Christians, different denominations of Christianity. For example, Catholics versus Protestants. The amount of blood shed in the name of Christianity by Christians killing Christians is quite a scandal. But even before that, the persecution of those who were considered heretics under the notorious Spanish Inquisition. I can go on giving instances. Then, of course, before that, the fight between Christians and Muslims in the form of crusades. And therefore, the history of religions is the history of bloodshed. In our times, because of globalization, initially we thought that these differences will be transcended and a global spirituality will emerge, but it hasn't happened, largely because the economic right has hijacked religion. So there is a collusion between religion and economics, which is then hijacked by politics. So the economic right, the political right, and the military right, the use of force to defend these structures. So this kind of collusion has happened, and therefore the promise of humankind becoming one global family, which was dreamt of in Hinduism, for example, through the doctrine of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole world as one family, that stays aborted. And that is why people like us, we need to take the initiative in enabling people to look beyond the barriers of their own religions, which is my main work. I believe that a Christian becomes truly Christian when he goes beyond Christianity. If I remain only a parochial Christian, I'm not even a Christian. I tell my fellow Christians that Jesus was not a Christian. And if Jesus were a Christian, there would have been no hope for humanity. I don't believe that Guru Nanak was a Sikh. Guru Nanak was a brilliant illumination of spiritual light, which continues to illumine our life. One of the most outstanding examples of the use of reason and common sense, and I have referred to Guru Nanak in my work. So this is the context. Now, in order to give ourselves a flavor of the problem that I am addressing, I will take us back a few centuries, nearly 3.5 centuries, to an author who lived, he was born in Amsterdam, but he lived in The Hague because he was cast out of his own community. He was a Jew. The Jews excommunicated him because he thought rationally and came up with insights that were not convenient to the priestly class of Judaism. And I'll read out a section, it's a somewhat long quotation from a book by, the name of this author is Baruch Spinoza. Baruch is also called Benedict. When he was a Jew, he was called Baruch. When he was cast out from Judaism, he became a Catholic. His name was changed into Benedict, but the meaning remained the same. Baruch in Hebrew means blessing. Benedict means blessing. So his name is Baruch Spinoza. He was a philosopher. And the book I'm referring to is Political Theological Treatise. In some version, it is Political Theological Treatise. Let me read out that passage, and then I'll try to highlight 4 or 5 issues that Spinoza is trying to identify. And this is what he writes. I have often wondered that men who make a boast of professing Christian religion, which is a religion of love, joy, peace, temperance, and honest dealings with all men, should quarrel so fiercely and display the bitterest hatred towards one another day by day. So the first issue that Benedict Spinoza identifies is that religion promotes bitterness, enmity, quarrel, bloodshed. Now, this is a familiar theme, therefore I need not explain it. The second issue he points out is, he says, I'm quite certain that it stems from this tendency to quarrel in the name of God, issues from a popular attitude of mind which looks on the ministries of church as profitable offices. Its offices as posts of emoluments, that is income, profit, and its pastors as eminent personages. If we believe that priests, mullahs, pandits, and granthis, etc., are some very special kind of people, spiritual people who are far superior to us, he says nothing of the sort. If anything, they are inferior to ordinary people. But as soon as the church's true function began thus to be distorted by priests, third problem, worthless fellows got motivated to enter holy orders. When religious offices become offices of profit. See, there was a time when religion did not have any money and nobody became a millionaire or a rich person through the practice of religion. At that time, religions did not attract rascals. Now that religion has become a money-spinning industry, it attracts the worst elements. And they have a tendency to corrupt people to enslave them, to use them for their profit. So that's the third issue. The fourth issue, he says, the issue of dogma. Dogma excludes reason. Dogma disallows the right to think rationally. Okay? Dogma is something that you have to accept on blind faith. He says, what dogma? Degrading rational men to beast. He says that's the effect of dogma. Men are degraded to the level of animals, completely inhibiting man's free judgment and his capacity to distinguish truth from falsehood, and apparently devised with the set purpose of utterly extinguishing the light of reason. So dogma extinguishes the light of reason. That's the fourth point that Spinoza makes. And finally he says that all this promotes corruption through religion. Okay? So he says religion becomes a contradiction within itself. Christianity was a religion of love, truth, justice, fellow feeling, etc., but it has become exactly the opposite. The reason is that practice of Christianity became a profitable office, and because of that, it attracted the worst elements in the community, and these people created dogmas. Dogmas are created in order to inhibit the capacity to think. That is why when it comes to religion, nobody thinks rationally. And then the final point I made was that because people are not capable of thinking rationally, they readily and wholeheartedly endorse any agenda of injustice which is packaged in the name of religion. There are other issues also, but I thought I'd just read out the words of just one thinker so that we get an idea of what we are talking about. Now, Mahatma Gandhi, for example, many people think of Gandhi as a very religious person. Frankly, the truth was just the opposite. Gandhi did not take religion seriously. Certainly, he did not take religion in the popular sense seriously. In his autobiography, The Story of My Experiments with Truth, he says that the only valuable part of religion is its ethical and philosophical teaching. Gandhi did not accept the ritualistic, dogmatic aspect of religion. He did not waste time on temples, churches, mosques, etc. In fact, he always felt disappointed with holy cities. And he asked the question, why is it that holy cities are the dirtiest you can imagine? So Gandhi realized that religion as religion will always divide people. And in his public prayer meetings, he tried to get people out of it by bringing followers of different religions together to organize or to experience combined multi-religious prayer meetings. And that was Gandhiji's strategy for enabling people to come out of their religious fold and to realize that all human beings are the same, that we are children of the same God, and therefore it is foolish, it is mad to fight each other and kill each other in the name of religion. Now, Jesus Christ, for example, said that religion is made for man, not man for religion. Usually people think, when you think that you have to fight and die for your religion, or when we think so, we think that, religion is the most important thing. Jesus says, no, religion is only as important as it serves human beings. Being human is the ultimate thing. I once wrote an article in the Pioneer many years ago, 1996 or 97, around that period, saying that in Christianity, God is more important, human beings are more important than God. My logic is that in Christianity, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, came to die for human beings. Only a lower value can be sacrificed for a higher value. And logically, therefore, human beings are more important than God. And that's the substance of my argument. And that evening, the evening of the day this article appeared in the Pioneer, there was a multi-religious meeting where I shared a podium with Sardar Bhutta Singh, who was the Home Minister, but who was not a Home Minister at that time. I had not met him in person. And because in those days my articles used to be carried with my photographs, Sardar Bhutta Singh remembered my face, and he reached out to me and said, "Are you the one who wrote that article?" So I said, "Yes." And he said, he shook me by the hand and said, "That's the kind of thinking that India needs today." Then he said, "Look, I'm a Mazhabi Sikh. And the greatest problem that I have experienced in my life and my community experiences is that we have no worth. And therefore, affirming human worth must be the primary task of religion." And that's what he told me. Anyway, I can go cite instances after instances, but time doesn't allow me to do so. I thought I would say something about the thinking of people like Karl Marx and some philosophers, literary personages on religion, etc. But let me leave all that aside and then come to the next part of my argument. Why should we look beyond religion? And that's the main question. Why should we look beyond religion? Now, in one sense, the answer is already implied in what I have said so far. Religion has become a domain of corruption, of irrationality, superstition, obfuscation, hatred. Religion was not like that. It has been rendered, it has been made into this kind of thing. And therefore, there is a need to look beyond these patterns and these problems. My first argument, my first reason for looking beyond religion is that religion has come to caricature God. So it's very interesting. Religion starts with God and ends up by caricaturing God. How do we caricature God? We caricature God by being who we are. We say, for example, that God is love, God is truth, God is compassion, etc. But in our religious life, we act exactly the opposite way. हम कहते हैं कि खुदा करुणा है, सच है, इंसाफ है, प्रेम है, मगर करते क्या है? Exactly the opposite. So, and we do so because of religion. So religion caricatures God. Religion shows God exactly in the opposite manner and presents God as indistinguishable from the very devil. Now, the main reason why this happens is, I'm going to use a technical word now. I'll explain what it is. Anthropomorphization. That is, anthropon is Greek for human beings. God is imagined as a human being. And in this, of course, Christianity is the foremost offender. Christians believe in a personal God. खुदा एक इंसान की तरह है, जैसे इंसान है वैसे खुदा है. Now, no religion began like that. It's only much later that God is imagined in the name of a human being, in the form of a human being. इसमें तकलीफ क्या है, इसमें danger क्या है? See, when you imagine God as a human being, you tend to manipulate God exactly as you manipulate a human being. Human beings are flattered, God is flattered. Human beings are influenced with bribe, God is influenced with bribe. Human beings like you to be partial to them. You believe that God will be very happy if you are partial to him and your idea of God, which may not be God at all. Last night I was addressing a Christian group and I was telling them that it's time Christians realized that their idea of God may not correspond to God at all. They may be worshipping something else. Okay? So, in religion, there is a tendency to caricature God. For example, we say that God is universal, God is omnipresent, God is everywhere, God is omniscient, God knows everything, no one has to tell him anything. Now, if God is omnipresent everywhere, present everywhere, how do you say that God exists in a temple? Why do you say that you have to go to a temple to worship? मंदिर मस्जिद गिरिजा जाने की जरूरत क्या है? यदि हम मानते हैं कि खुदा सर्वव्यापी है, God is present everywhere, it makes no sense that you have to go to a gurudwara, a church, a mosque, a mandir to meet with God. God can be met with everywhere. That was what Guru Nanak said when he visited Kaaba. To show me the direction in which God is not present, right? But we have left all that a long time back, and we have been indoctrinated to believe that if you want to be godly, you have to come to this place, and only to this place, and nowhere else can God be found. Is that not caricaturing God? So temples and places of worship, interestingly, bear false witness to God. Now, in India, of course, now the greatest excitement is that a great temple is coming up in Ayodhya. I stopped funding the construction of churches a long time ago. Why? Because I realized that churches actually are signposts or indicators to the fact that God is rejected from our day-to-day life. We are giving accommodation to God so that God may go and live there and may not interfere with our life. हम खुदा के लिए एक घर बना के देते हैं ताकि हमें अकेला छोड़ दे, जिसके जरिए हम अपनी मर्जी अपना लाइफ निभा दे. मंदिर मस्जिद गुरुद्वारा चर्च सबका यही मजहब है, मतलब है कि खुदा को जिंदगी से अलग करना. हमारे करीब मत आना, तुम वहां जाके बैठो, हम जब फुर्सत है हम आके आपसे मिलेंगे, कुछ बातें करेंगे, सुनेंगे, मगर हम जो करना चाहते हैं कि जिंदगी में उसमें हस्तक्षेप न करें, इसकी अनुमति हम आपको नहीं देंगे. सिर्फ यही मतलब है ए प्लेसेस ऑफ वर्शिप का, और कोई और मतलब नहीं है. मगर इसमें इतना इम्पोर्टेंस चढ़ गया क्योंकि जो प्रीस्टली लोग होते हैं, हमारे पंडित पूजा करने वाले, उनका राज बन गया वहां, और हम वे लोग हमारे ऊपर राज करना चाहते हैं, और वो इसलिए कर सकते हैं, तब कर सकते हैं जब हमें गुलाम बनाए. Only when we are enslaved by them can they rule over us. और यदि हमें गुलाम बनाना है, वो मंदिर मस्जिद गिरजा में ही कर सकते हैं. ये जो प्रीस्टली लोग होते हैं, जो ज्यादातर हमारे जो कम्युनिटीज हैं उसके सबसे अंडर डेवलप्ड लोग होते हैं, यदि उनको महाराजा बनाना है अपने आप को, वो सिर्फ मंदिर में, गिरजा में, गुरुद्वारा में कर सकते हैं. सोसाइटी में, समाज में नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि उसका उतना अकल नहीं है, उतना एबिलिटी नहीं है उनका. सो इसलिए we have to be very careful, I believe, about places of worship. And these places of worship are places where people are indoctrinated against the spiritual light of that particular religion. गुरु नानक जी ने हमें क्या सिखाया, शायद उसके बिल्कुल विपरीत होगा. जो वहां हमें जो भाषण मिलते हैं, प्रबोधन मिलते हैं, वही वगैरह. आप सोच लीजिए, we say that God is love. Which religion teaches you to love? Not even love members of your own community. Otherwise, there would not be fights within the community. My community is fragmented, your community is fragmented. Islam is supposed to be highly united, but they kill each other. The irony of Islam is that if the Jews were not there, they would have killed each other by now. जो मुस्लिम लोग होते हैं, उनका सबसे बड़ा बरकत ये है कि जूस हो, नहीं तो वे आपस में लड़के अपने आप को मार डालते, समझे ना. So there is no question in all religions. Now Hinduism, the philosophical insights of Hinduism are fabulous. You know, the Advaita philosophy. Truth is only one. But look at the sects. And all these sects have been fighting each other, right? So in all of this, what we find is the religion becomes within itself its opposite. अपने आप का विपरीत हो जाता है. So I can go on with this, but I've given you some idea as to why religion has to be transcended. I'm using the word very carefully. I didn't say discard religion. मैं नहीं कहा कि religion को छोड़ दो. ये मैंने नहीं कहा. मैंने कहा कि religion का अतीत हो जाओ. You see, you can transcend religion only if you grow through religion and go beyond the present idea of that religion. मैं अपने छात्रों से कम 40 साल ये कहते आया, students of St. Stephen's College, that the proof that you have read a book, कैसे आपको पता है कि मैंने किताब पढ़ ली है? If you go through a book from page 1 to page 500, that doesn't mean that you have read the book. You have read the book only if you have gone beyond that book. तब महसूस कर सकते हैं कि हाँ, मैं सचमुच ये किताब तो पढ़ लिया. नहीं? Till then, you have not read the book. You are familiar with the book, but you have not read it. Okay? So religion, if you really want to be a Sikh, a Christian, a Hindu, a Buddhist, a Jain, whatever, you have to go beyond the known shape of that religion. इसके अतीत बहुत कुछ चीजें हैं. इसलिए हमें हमेशा seekers बनना है. Become seekers. You don't have to seek other religions. Seek what is the highest reach possible in your own religion. ये कभी नहीं होता जब तक प्रीस्ट का डोमिनेशन रहता है. कभी नहीं होगा, क्योंकि हमारे बीच में जो प्रीस्ट बनता है वो सबसे बैकवर्ड लोग होते हैं. इंटेलेक्चुअली, स्पिरिचुअली, मॉरली सबसे बैकवर्ड है. मैं अपने कम्युनिटी के बारे में कह सकता हूँ कि जो इंटेलिजेंट है, समझदार हैं, वो कभी प्रीस्ट नहीं बनते, दूसरा काम कर लेते. जो बिल्कुल बेकार है वे बाकी सब जगह से हार मानने के बाद अपने आप को प्रीस्ट बना लेते हैं. उसके बाद महाराजा बन जाते हैं और बिल्कुल पागलपन करता है. So if you remain stuck at their level, then God help us. Okay, now very quickly in the next maybe 10-15 minutes, what is a horizon beyond religion? And that's the third part of my argument. First, I talked about 4 or 5 major issues in religion. Secondly, I talked about the need to go beyond religion. And I used only one argument, and that is all religions distort the idea of God or caricature the image of God and conduct themselves in ways completely contrary to the nature of God. On the one hand, you say that you worship God. मैं कहता हूँ हाँ, मैं खुदा की इबादत करने वाला आदमी हूँ, मगर अपने जिंदगी में खुदा का जो नेचर है, खुदा का जो खूबियां हैं, उसके बिल्कुल खिलाफ मैं काम करता हूँ. ये तो मुझे बहुत अजीब सा लगता है. See, to worship is to become like. Worship, इबादत करने का मतलब क्या होता है? खुदा का इबादत हम क्यों करें? खुदा का इबादत हम इसलिए करें कि हम खुदा जैसे बन सके. खुदा का जो नेचर है, एट्रीब्यूट्स है, क्वालिटीज है, खूबियां हैं, वो अपनाएं. जैसे खुदा प्रेम है, हम प्रेम करना सीखें. जैसे खुदा सच है, हम सच बोलने का हिम्मत अर्जित करें. जैसे खुदा करुणा है, हम करुणा से दूसरों से व्यवहार करना सीखें. यही मतलब है इबादत का. मगर आजकल इबादत से इसका बिल्कुल विपरीत हो जाता है. इसलिए हमें इसके पार, इसके बियॉन्ड होना चाहिए. दैट वाज द आर्गुमेंट. नाउ द थर्ड पार्ट, द होराइजन बियॉन्ड. As I pointed out, first thing, the starting point for me is to recognize that religion is for human beings, not vice versa. No religion which demands human sacrifice. See, there was a time, if you have studied the anthropology of religion, I'm sure Dr. Jagjit Singh is aware of this, and many of you would be aware of this. If you study the history and anthropology of religion, you will know that there was a time when human sacrifice was the norm. All over the world, human sacrifice was practice. Gradually, as time went on and people became more and more enlightened, human sacrifice gave way to animal sacrifices. Okay, in India, in all religions, in Judaism, animal sacrifices, in Islam, every religion, animal sacrifices were conducted. Then a stage came when people became a little more enlightened, animal sacrifices were given up. And then came the idea of sacrificing a part of your income. खुदा को कुछ देना है. पहले अपने आप को देते थे in the form of human sacrifice. उसके बाद जानवरों की या पशु पक्षियों की सैक्रिफाइस करते थे. अब हम कहने लगा कि हम जो कमाते हैं उसका थोड़ा सा एक अंश देना है. Okay, and then Christians invented something more. शायद आपके बीच में भी होगा. कुछ देने की जरूरत भी नहीं है. खुदा को फ्लैटर करो, अपने जुबान से कुछ कहो. You are very great, you are wonderful, you know, you are powerful, ये है वो है. कोई खर्च नहीं है. अपने जेब से लगा दो, फ्लैटर करो, जैसे हम पॉलिटिशियंस से करते हैं ना. मैं बाप बुजुर्ग, ये हम जुबान से कर दे, अच्छी बात है ना. ऐसे होता है, right? So this idea, no, what I wanted to say is, we think that human sacrifice has been given up, but the point is, we have not outgrown human sacrifice, both in religion and in politics. सियासत और मजहब में अभी तक ह्यूमन सैक्रिफाइस नरबली जारी है. In politics, this is war, and domestically it is communal riots. If this is not human sacrifice, क्या है? Communal riot में हम दूसरे मजहब के लोगों को मार डालते हैं ताकि मेरी खुदा खुश हो. इंसान को मार डालना मेरी खुदा की सेवा है. आप सोच लीजिए एक मिनट, क्या ह्यूमन सैक्रिफाइस खत्म हो गया या जारी है? पॉलिटिक्स में कैसे लोग कुर्सी पर लेते हैं? ह्यूमन सैक्रिफाइस से कर लेते हैं. Both within the country and outside. If you go and kill somebody who is supposed to be your enemy, then you win an election. In 1971, Mrs. Gandhi secured her position in politics via human sacrifice. Bangladesh war. How many people died? In 2002, Narendra Modi, who was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, who had just become the Chief Minister of Gujarat, secured his position forever through a riot. Now, Indian politics will be dominated for years to come by the same principle of human sacrifice, not animal sacrifice. Animals are protected, जानवरों की रक्षा होगा, मगर इंसान की कत्ल होगा ही होगा. कोई शक नहीं है इसमें. So we have to realize how things are organized. If you want to be liberated from this, if you're interested in protecting your own humanity, I mean, what is the point in corrupting your soul? This is a question I ask myself. I will not be a party to anything that Christians advocate which make me hate any of my fellow human beings. I will not do it, because my soul is not given to me by Christianity. मेरा जो अपना रूह है, आत्मा है, वो गिरिजा बिशप पादरी लोगों की देन नहीं है, खुदा का देन है. इससे मैं उनका आदर करना है. If I poison my soul, I cannot honor God with it. इसलिए मैं इसका साथ कभी नहीं दूंगा, जो कीमत जो भी हो. So we have to, the first step to take is to accept that human beings are the highest value, and nothing that makes us hate or hurt human beings is godly. The second thing to do is to shift from the ritualistic and dogmatic to the ethical. हम जो पूजा पाठ करते हैं, मंदिर में ये करते हैं, गुरुद्वारे में वो करते हैं, वो सब करने के बाद बाहर आते ही लड़ाई शुरू कर देते हैं, समझे ना? ना ये कैसे हो सकता है? आप अपना गुरु ग्रंथ पढ़ लीजिए, मैं अपना बाइबल पढ़ लेता हूँ, कुरान शरीफ भी पढ़ लेते हैं, गीता पढ़ लेते हैं, वेदास पढ़ लेते हैं, या क्या इसके जरिए हम एक दूसरे का कत्ल कर सकते हैं, मर्डर कर सकते हैं? So why this has happened is religion has two parts. One is the ethical and the other is the ritualistic. When priestly people, the priestly class, take charge of a religion, जब priestly लोग एक मजहब को हाईजैक करते हैं, वे लोग क्या करते हैं? रिलीजन को दो टुकड़ा कर देते हैं, अपने रिलीजन को दो टुकड़ा कर देते हैं. एक है रिचुअल, दूसरा है जो धार्मिक सेंस. धार्मिक सेंस को रिजेक्ट कर देते हैं, सारा ध्यान रिचुअल में डालते हैं. रिचुअल का यही है कि ये आपको अपना दिमाग इस्तेमाल करने का मौका नहीं देगा कभी. आप जो जितना भी रिचुअल कर ले, जिंदगी में एक बार भी अपना जो खुद ईश्वर का देने वाला अपना जो ब्रेन है, मन है, मनुष्य कौन होता है? मनन करने वाला होता है मनुष्य. मानव मनन करना है. यदि आपको इंसान बनना है, मनन करना है, you have to use your brain. And as far as I have understood Guru Nanak, the greatest contribution he has made to humanity, Guru Nanak doesn't belong to Sikhs alone. I believe that Guru Nanak belongs to me also, because he challenged me to think rationally. That's what I have stated in my book, right? मगर ये आप अपने मज़हब में नहीं करेंगे, मंदिर में नहीं करेंगे, पूजा पाठ में नहीं करेंगे. This is the problem. So unless and until we shift from the dogmatic to the ethical, the ritual to ethics, there is really no way forward. The third thing is, the primary goal of religion must be the liberation of the people. इंसानियत की मुक्ति. मुक्ति का मतलब है development. Now, let me, because I was a teacher of the English language, let me say this to you. The word develop, I'm sure Dr. Jagjit Singh knows this. The word develop is a word of French origin. It actually means to set people free. Now, I remember some 30 years ago, I was invited by the Asian Development Bank to address their officers and to take classes for them for a whole year, for a whole month. I gave about 35 lectures there. I began, and my students were all PhDs in economics or chartered accountants. There was nobody else. I began my first talk by asking them for the meaning of the word develop. They gave me the stereotypical definition of development as they learned in their textbooks. I said, that's not what I want. What is the meaning of the word develop? Not a single person knew that to develop is to set people free. Now, the word develop is related to the word envelope. You write a letter. In olden days, we used to write letters and put them in an envelope, right? Envelope means to cover from all four sides. Develop is de-envelope. It became development. That is to set free. When you get a letter in an envelope, you tear open the envelope and you liberate the letter, the text of the letter. That is development. So the simple, essential meaning of development is setting a people free. But today, develop means enslaving people. And that's happening all over the world, including our own country. So let that be. So the time has come for us to test all religions by one yardstick, one litmus test. Does this religion liberate me or not? Does it allow me to become a freer and better human being? Or does it make me a slave of itself? Okay? So that's the third thing. The fourth principle that I enunciate is religion must be seen as a domain of dynamic equality. Now, this concept of mine must be explained. I just don't say equality. I say dynamic equality. Why do I say that? You see, there can be two kinds of equalities. One is equality because nobody grows. You freeze people, and that was the mistake that socialism tried to commit. हाँ? किसी को आगे आने की अनुमति मत दे, वहां पढ़ो equality. But of course, you have inherited a lot of equalities. Those inequalities will remain. Having studied history, having studied to some extent political science, sociology, anthropology, to some extent even basic texts of economics, I can tell you that only dynamic equality is meaningful. Why dynamic? Because equality must always be conjoined with growth. Everybody must be empowered and enabled to grow. And that is why in the American Constitution, it is not equality that they talk about. They talk about equality of opportunities. In India, we are light years away from equality of opportunities. We talk about equality. In the preamble to the Indian Constitution, there are four cardinal ideals mentioned. First is justice, second is liberty, third is equality, and fourth is fraternity. Okay? Liberty, equality, fraternity are all borrowed from the French Revolution, 1789. Justice was added by the framers of Indian Constitution under the leadership of B.R. Ambedkar because Ambedkar realized that justice was the weakest link in the Indian cultural, religious, social network. Now, the Indian Constitution, unfortunately, in the preamble, does not talk about equality of opportunities. But that is the real thing. And if you look at various aspects of national life, you will find that equality of opportunity is just not there. And unfortunately, even the Supreme Court of India endorses this system by playing up merit. Now, there's a very specious rhetoric, and it's a huge subject. I can give a separate talk on this. See, you can use the concept of merit in order to stop the quest for equality of opportunity. You take merit at the given point, which is a product of inequalities in the past. See, who are the meritorious people? Children of the rich, children of the social elite. या गरीब लोगों के बच्चे के पास मेरिट हो सकता है इंग्लिश मीडियम से जो आते हैं. I battled this problem in St. Stephen's, and I radically revised the admission policy of St. Stephen's because I wanted to correct this huge injustice. And I came under attack. If you're interested in knowing what I suffered through my tenure as principal, read my autobiography. It's called On a Stormy Course. On a Stormy Course. It's available in Amazon.in. Both the printed version and the Kindle version is available. Read that. You will realize what a dangerous concept it is to provide equality of opportunity in India. You will pay with your life. So when I say something, I say from actual practical experience. So this is an area, and what I want to suggest is that inequality is perpetuated in India mostly through religion. Mostly through religion. Religion becomes the most powerful alibi for perpetuating inequality. Caste system, for example, but this is not confined to the caste system alone. So therefore, I want to argue that talking about equality is meaningless. It will take us nowhere. We must talk about dynamic equality, which has to be continuously created through facilitating growth and development by making freedom, equality of opportunities real for all people. And finally, we have to democratize religion. Now, many people are shocked when I say this. Democratize religion. Why do I say this? All religions, every religion we know today has been formed in the feudal phase or pre-feudal phase of humanity. None of them has come into being in the democratic age. And therefore, the structures and practices, relationships and outlooks within every religion is pre-modern. When feudalism gave way to democracy, what happened? The emphasis shifted from a class to the people. What is democracy? Religion of the people, by the people, for the people. What is oligarchy? Religion by the elite, for the elite, and religion of the elite, by the elite, for the elite. What is technocracy? Religion by the technocrats, for the technocrats, etc. And today, who is religion for? Who is governance for in India? I mean, I'll give you one indication. During the COVID time, when 97% of India's population suffered serious economic loss, India produced the maximum number of new billionaires. Maximum number of new billionaires. See, during this period, the Ambanis became the richest in Asia, and Adanis became the second richest in Asia. And 97% of India's people became poorer and poorer. Many people are committing suicide. People are finding it difficult to make both ends meet. Let me say this to you, I find it difficult to live. I'm a person who has lived, who has worked all my life, and I've worked in some of the highest positions in this country, but I valued my integrity more than income. Therefore, I am finding it very difficult. I do most of the work myself in my house. I have a small patch of land behind my house in Trivandrum. I work as a farmer, one and a half hours every day. I cannot afford to hire a daily wage worker because in Kerala, a daily wage worker costs 1,000 rupees. That's my total income per day. I cannot afford a daily wage worker in Trivandrum. I could have afforded it before, say, 5 years ago, because the interest rates were high and I had some income. Now, interest rates have been reduced by about 3%. So I've been loser in many ways. Cost of living has gone up, and all that money is flowing in one direction. So look at it from whichever way you want. The fact of the matter is that this collusion between religion and politics is actually creating a feudal or pre-feudal situation in India. People are losing out. But unfortunately, because religion is brought into the picture, nobody is thinking rationally. And therefore, the situation can go on without any fear of change. I'm not arguing for any political party. I don't belong to any political party. I don't think that there's any party that I can belong to in honesty. But I can only make observations about human experiences, human predicament today. So we have to really now think about religion not as a domain of irrational loyalty, but as a domain of inspired selfishness. The one advice I give to everyone is be selfish. Take care of yourself. You see, religious leadership, political leadership will incite you to go fight and die, but none of them will fight and die. They will urge you to make supreme sacrifices, but neither their children nor their grandchildren will ever suffer the slightest inconvenience. All this rhetoric is only for the consumption of stupid idiots. It's not for the elite religious and political class. They laugh at you when you fall into their trap and you go and die. Right? Now, for example, when a person is killed in war, he is hailed as a great martyr. Right? But have you seen the children of the rich and the political elite ever dying in a battle? यदि ये इतना बड़ी चीज है कि हम अपने आप को शहीद बनाए, ये क्यों नहीं होता कि हमारे अमीर लोगों का, जो पॉलिटिकली पावरफुल लोग होते हैं, उनका बच्चे क्यों नहीं मरते, लड़ाई में क्यों नहीं मरते, मार्टर शहीद नहीं बन जाते? लोग सोचते नहीं हैं. You see, historically speaking, there's always a connection between poverty and war. If war is to be fought, there must be poor people. The rich will never fight a battle. The poor must fight battles and die in them so that the rich can become richer. इतिहास सिर्फ हमें ही सबक सिखाता है, but nobody will learn from this. But my argument is that supporting all of this, undergirding all of this, propping up all of this is the idea of religion, which is dominated by the priest, which is exploitative, which is anti-God, which has no place for truth, justice, compassion, fellow feeling, and which is organized in order to enslave people and make use of them as servants of vested interests. Now, obviously there's a great deal to be said about all this, and if you have questions, I'll be happy to deal with them. Once again, I apologize for my inability to share my thoughts with you in your own mother tongue, and I thank all of you for your patient endurance till this point in time. Thank you, and I want to particularly thank Dr. Jagjit Singh for giving me this opportunity to be with all of you.
Thank you, Professor Valson. I think you touched the basic things, the basic fundamentals of humanity, and I think all the religions, as well as I would prefer, it is basically a humanity lesson.
Yeah.
As far as I think, it should be, even in Guru Granth Sahib, if we go by, I think we have been always looking at that all these things have been touched off, and we have been changing. I think religion has changed a lot, even in Sikhism. Well, the floor is open for questions. I think Dr. Virak raised his hand. If he has a comment, Dr. Sahib, please be on the subject and be short. Hanji, Dr. H.S. Virak, and then Dr. Kala Singh.
Yeah. Professor Valson, it's a very interesting talk. Perhaps you know Professor Jav Kojmathaddam, who was principal of Institute of Science and Religion.
Okay.
So he's a really, well-known physicist, but he's a father, and I have a lot of interaction with him.
Okay. Yeah.
And written some
very good.
on interfaith.
Excellent.
Number one, about last week, Jagjit knows there is another forum run by Dr. Jasdev Sachdev.
Yes.
So he gave me a topic, and my topic will be a need for paradigm shift in Sikhi for promotion of Sikhism. So I have learned a lot from this lecture, because we are also looking for a paradigm shift in Sikhi for promotion of Sikhi.
Yes.
But there is a one comment also, rather two comments.
Sure.
I do not agree that the priestly class in Christianity was poor in, knowledge or literature, as you say that the priestly class in all religions, they have no brain, or they are, less in. If you go back to Oxford, Cambridge, Paris, Marburg, and Germany, where I have been going for my education, 700 years ago, the professors, readers, lecturers, they were not teaching natural sciences, they were teaching Christianity or grammar till 19th century. A professor in Marburg University told me that all these universities were occupied by the priestly class, fathers, nuns, etc., and they have to be thrown out to start, what we call liberal arts and sciences. So I mean, of course, we have got also our Granthis, which are not so well educated. But in Christianity, I do not agree that they are less educated. Another beautiful comment which I found, I am reading history of universities, how they were created in India. And surprisingly, in the calendar of Punjab University, Lahore, which was created in 1882, there were two options. First option was that the modern science or European education, it will be given in the vernacular. Bengalis under Raja Ram Mohan Rai, they rejected this and they preferred English medium.
Yes.
Same thing happened in Punjab University, Lahore. The
Yes.
Sikh elites, I know 4-5, they say Urdu is very common, Punjabi is a Pindu language, so please teach us this European or modern education in English. Another clause was English will not be compulsory language till BA honors.
Right.
And we adopted English as compulsory. And I know during my time, 50-60% people from rural areas, they used to fail in high school and then college.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this has been perpetuated by the elites in India to
Yes.
make poor poorer.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, I'm aware of this. Yeah, I'm aware of what you're saying. Yes.
Thank you, Doctor.
so one comment is on Christianity. You can answer.
Yes. Okay. Shall I briefly respond to? I'll briefly respond to this, if I may. Now, I quite agree with Dr. Hardev Virk that there was a time when the priestly vocation used to attract the best minds in Europe. I'm not unaware of that history. I am only describing the current situation. If you look at religions across, who are the people who are entering religion today? And this shift happened not now, this happened over a period of time gradually, so that by the time, say, for example, of a person like George Bernard Shaw, he said religion is the last resort of scoundrels, right? So over a period of time, the intellectual content of religious thinking was declining. Many of the scientists in Europe were priests, or those who wanted to be priests. Many of the great literary figures, for example, Christopher Marlowe, one of the great dramatists of the 16th century, wanted to be a priest, but he couldn't make the grade. Milton wanted to be a priest. He couldn't make the grade. Soren Kierkegaard, one of the greatest philosophical thinkers of the 19th century, wanted to be a priest. He could not be a priest. So I'm aware of that history. It's not only that. You see, we today talk of hospitals. The origin of hospital was way back in the 12th century in Italy. And who started hospitals? Priests started hospitals. But they started hospitals as places to which the poor people could go and die in peace. Today we think of hospices in that direction. Now, in modern hospitals, poor have no place, only the rich have place. The poor must go to hospices and die. Mother Teresa picked that idea up and all that. Education, you're quite right. Who founded the great universities in the past? The Western universities. Now, Harvard University was founded by Pilgrim Fathers, right? Oxford, Cambridge, they all had religious backgrounds. And they all came up because of religious foundation. I'm aware of all of that. There's no point in going, see, this is the problem in India. We say, 5,000 years ago we had internet. 4,000 years ago there was plastic surgery. There's stem cell research. Arey, aaphi aapka halat kya hai? There's no point in saying that, the great priests were there in the past. Today, I can tell you that in my community, which I know pretty well, 7 out of 10 are scoundrels. And I say that with all the responsibility I have. People who can inspire others are now becoming rarer and rarer and rarer. 50 years ago, I used to encounter them in my community as priests and bishops. Now they're all so different. You decide for yourself whether your priests are, intellectually endowed, philosophically sensitive, spiritually enlightened. You decide for yourself. I cannot decide for myself. And today, no young person of talent will think of priesthood as a vocation. When a young man fails his attempts to make a living in all other fields and is beaten back, he says, oh, God has called to me a priest. So priesthood actually starts with this lie. So, and about Hinduism, Swami Agnivesh used to tell me, and this is true by and large, that there are 6 million, as per official statistics, there are 6 million Swamis in India. At least about half of them have had criminal backgrounds, and becoming or donning the garb of religion is the best way to escape the arm of law. So you tried to create a forum. I remember in 1992, I was producing a documentary on HIV/AIDS. By the way, I was the first person to produce a documentary on HIV/AIDS in India. So I thought of producing a documentary from the point of view of religions. And one part of my script was to interview religious leaders. I went from one important religious leader to another in Delhi, including an imam, a jathedar, etc. Every one of them told me, what does religion have to do with this? This is something that only doctors should deal with. A doctor लोगों का काम है, हमें तुम क्यों तंग करते हो? See, that is the problem. Here is a huge human tragedy. क्या आपको इससे कुछ ताल्लुक नहीं है? You have no contribution to make. Look at COVID today, COVID situation today. Which religion has taken a stand on COVID or tried to address the COVID situation, human suffering? एक शब्द किसी के मुंह से न निकला. What is religion for? If religions were intellectually alive, they would have responded to emerging human situations and tragedies. If they are all useless and irrelevant in the context of human suffering, why do you keep them? इसका relevance क्या होता है? आप बता दीजिए मुझे. समझे ना? So, with great respect to Professor Work, I have to say, yes, you're absolutely right in saying that there was a time when great minds were attracted to be full-time workers for religion. It is no longer the case. And
thank you.
Look at the corruption in education and health. I'll close with that. Yeah. Next.
Dr. Kala Singh ji, please.
Thank you very much, Reverend Thampu. You have, in fact, touched the core of our hearts. And Guru Nanak. Hello? Yeah. Yeah. And Guru,
please,
and
I
Guru,
will, I think.
Yeah, and Guru Nanak worked on these issues.
Yes,
and
yes.
he brought out
Absolutely
the corruption of the priestly class.
Absolutely. Yes.
And he never wanted to make Sikh a organized religion.
That's it. Yes.
He was against the organized religion. He wanted to make a human being.
Yes.
Truthful human being. Yes. And in fact, one question which I wanted to ask, Professor Work has already asked, and you have already replied about this priestly class in Christianity.
Yes.
And only one question, one comment, one more about COVID. None of the religions came forward to help the humanity except Guru Nanak's Sikhs.
Yes, quite right.
Who came forward with the langar of oxygen and food. One question to you, with your thinking, why have you not been excommunicated so far?
I am. Not officially.
Because
not officially, but de facto.
Okay, because even we are excommunicating people who talk rationally and ask questions. We excommunicate them. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much for your talk. I really enjoyed it.
Now, let me say one sentence in response to what Mr. Work has said. You see, being excommunicated is a great advantage because that's a precondition for belonging to humanity as a whole. If you have to lose your home in order to find an alternate home. So long as you stay shut up in your own home, you do not belong to the universe.
Yes.
तो ये बहुत बड़ी सेवा होती है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, I agree with you.
जब आप निष्कासित हो जाते हैं तब आप क्या स्वतंत्र हो जाते हैं. You become free.
Yes, yes.
To think.
Amrit, I think, please unmute yourself and then Ustaba Dr. Jaswant Singh. Amrit, phone, I cannot, because you are not on the video, please unmute and ask. Please unmute yourself. Yes.
Sorry, I think that my hand was up by mistake, but I just thought, I just wanted to thank you for sharing your thoughts. I did my undergrad in religion and literature, and I think one of the greatest, I think that was probably the thing that influenced me the most, because I never really thought of religion as coming together as unity. So thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I must say that I'm greatly pleased to hear the sweet voice of a daughter or a sister, because religion is a domain where women are not allowed to speak. They are made to hear, but they are never heard. So I wish you had spoken more. I wish I could see your face as well. Anyway, God bless you.
Dr. Jaswant Singh ji.
Thank you, Professor Valson. It was an amazing talk. I never expected such kind of talk from anybody, I must say. It was amazing. I'm proud of you, and I really appreciate what you said. I have a very small and simple question. You said that religions are responsible for all what we are seeing in terms of inequality, in terms of injustice, in terms of general public sacrificing themselves and the so-called leader in religion or in politics enjoying the benefit.
Yes.
My question to you is simple. What is the answer?
First of all, I think we agree that religion is the main reason why many of these abuses continue, because when God is used as the alibi or a means for legitimization for evils, they perpetuate themselves, they endure, they cannot be eradicated. Now, politics can be reformed up to a point, but religion cannot be reformed. The most dangerous and difficult task a human being can undertake is reforming religion, and particularly one's own religion. Because God is attached to all the practices that are supposed to constitute a particular religion. Now, coming to the question, what shall we do? This question is answered in my book, 370 pages. So obviously, I cannot summarize all of that. But there is a chapter, a whole chapter in my book titled "From Religion to Spirituality." From religion to spirituality. There's another chapter titled "Religion and Reason." Religion and reason. Now, when I study the life, the work, the teachings of the founders of religions, all of them, I find them eminently rational creatures, thinking people. Somehow, as religions get organized and the priestly class takes control of a religious community, thinking gets excommunicated. It's not Valson who got excommunicated. It's thinking that gets excommunicated, right? So what we have to do is to bring thinking back into it. Now, that is possible only if you overthrow the domination of the religious, of the priestly class. So long as the priestly class remains in complete control of your religious life, you cannot bring reason into religion, nor can you shift from religion to spirituality. In fact, as one of the great theologians of the 20th century, a person called Paul Tillich wrote in a book called Christ and Spirituality, I think. Christ and Culture. He says that during periods of religious decay, religion becomes a contradiction of spirituality. So how do you know that you are living in a period of spiritual decay, religious decay? If your religious life becomes a contradiction of the spiritual light of your own religion, then you know that your religion is in a state of decay, right? So, in order to do this, one basic thing we have to do is to reinterpret our scriptures in light of the universal ideals that unite all of us. I mean, these ideals, as I've explained in my book, are four: love, truth, justice, compassion. The purpose of religion must be to promote a culture based on these four ingredients. And scriptural texts must be interpreted from this light. The third thing is, rather than abandon religion to the hands of priests, lay people must assume responsibility, particularly lay intellectuals like all of you. How come, people like Jagjit Singh can master mathematical models, but cannot teach the Granth Sahib? Why doesn't he do so? Why doesn't an accomplished doctor like Dr. Kala, I think, or is it Jaswant Singh, an MD in medicine, why doesn't he heal his own community? Why does a doctor feel that he can only deal with individual organic illnesses and not the collective illness of a community? I think of myself as a doctor to my community. It's my duty to heal my community. Now, my community may hate me for it, but that will not beat me back from my intention and my mission to heal my community. I don't try to heal other communities because that will be seen as an assault. Even my community thinks that it is thinks that I'm an enemy of the community, because no community, let's face it, wants to change. And this resistance to change is largely because of subjection and subjugation to the priestly class. And believe you me, all priestly classes in all religions are backward-looking people. There's not a single progressive priestly class I have encountered in my 40 years of interreligious initiatives. There may be a stray person here and there who thinks rationally and progressively, but as a class, the priestly class is regressive and backward-looking. So it is a mistake, it's a deadly mistake, to abandon religions into the hands of the priestly classes, and for very enlightened, intellectually talented lay people to remain enslaved to them, rather than using their resources and talents and abilities perfected over a period of time as resources for liberating humanity and creating a saner society. If religions do not result in the creation of a sane culture and saner societies, then I believe that it is a liability, it is a curse on humanity.
Mr. Basi, Gulberg Singh Basi.
First of all, I want to thank Reverend Professor Valson. Wonderful presentation, and above and beyond the normal levels of presentations. I thank you so much for bringing up a higher level thinking into the discussion. And very nicely said. And then I'll follow Dr. Kala by saying that actually Guru Nanak Sahib spoke against all these organized religious leaders. The sad part is that even the followers of Guru Nanak fell into the same trap. We now have the same kind of organized religious clergy that Guru Nanak spoke against. And thank you for suggesting that it ought to be the people, like the members of this group, who ought to start, I guess, sharing their views of religion versus the priest. But I'll tell you, the one place where I probably differ or maybe have it comment is that, you know, even though we say the people who are coming into religious, choosing religion as a profession are not of that high caliber, but my God, and I only talk about Sikhi in Punjab, there are so many Babas, and they're, my God, they're clever.
They're clever.
They can have a following of lots and lots of people. You know, Sacha Sauda Saad is an example. He got to be very smart. He can't be. He can't be one of those who are not smart. So how does that happen? Thank you.
Very, very interesting and important question. And I'm glad you've asked this. Let me say this to you. You see, it is not that Babas are clever. It is that people are stupid. Now, why are people stupid? Precisely because of their religious conditioning. You take the name of religion, you put on the color and the attire of religion, anything will sell. For example, in Kerala, the latest sensation is that a chap went around fooling people, making millions and millions of rupees, selling antiques, saying that this is a rod that Moses used 4,000 years ago. This is the vessel from which Lord Krishna ate butter. This is the footwear that Prophet Muhammad used, so on and so forth. Now, why was he so successful? And even top political leaders, top police officers of the state were all conned by him. Why? Because the moment you take religion, nobody thinks rationally. Do you know that historically, there's a connection between religion and dictatorship? Do you know that the people choose dictatorship over democracy because of religious influence? Why? Because religion trains you to accept authority unconditionally. And that is called dictatorship. Every relationship in religion is dictatorial. There can be no dialogue between you and your religious chief. You only have to sit and take orders from him. So there is a proven historical connection between dictatorships and religious fervor. And this is also why a temple is being built as the great national achievement. Why religion is becoming so important in India. And 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you'll remember what I have said today. This has very serious consequences. When history of India will be written, future historians will say that democracy in India suffered a shipwreck on religion. It's as serious as that. Some of you will live to see it. I may not be here. Please remember what I've just now said to you. And I'm going to say this again. Democracy in India is going to suffer a shipwreck on religion.
Dr. Sukhmander Singh ji, Dr. Sukhmander Singh, please unmute yourself, sir.
Professor, thanks for illuminating lecture. I have a very brief question. You know, I think I have a feeling as if we're blaming a lot on the religion. It's the wielder, not the instrument. A sword can be used to perpetuate tyranny and equality, can also be used, as Guru said, for Kirpan defense. Technology has long been used to enslave, colonize. Technology is even now, I think, the wielder who is to be equally blamed. My request would be, since as you well pointed out, that religion has been equated to ritualism, and ritualism often masks the doctrinal message, we ought to request that there's nothing now we can do abandon religion or talk about the wrong thing with religion. It's the wielder's fault who use the religious in a different way. So it's just a request, go to the fundamentals of religion. All those religious prophets, their common denominator was to love humanity. So all we need to request, peel out all those layers of ritualism, those things, they will discover to be fundamentally go to that thing. Oh my goodness, they all dictate humanities. I think appeal should be made that can we go? Now, fundamentalism is a word which is being used in a very negative sense.
Yeah,
I don't mean that. I mean to say, please go to the very fundamental when this thing originated and who originated, how wonderfully the prophet, loving, and the common denominator among all of those was that love humanity that God loves. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Sukhwinder Singh. I take your observation very seriously and with respect. But I have this to say, that we need to ask a question. You make a distinction between religion and the wielders of religion. The religion is fine, but the wielders do this kind of thing. Fine. But the question will remain, why it is that religion breeds such wielders? Why can't religion breed people who are sensible, commonsensical, spiritually enlightened, who will take care of it? See, there is a saying that a tree must be judged by the fruits it produces, right? A tree is known by the fruits it produces, right? You pluck mango from the mango tree, coconut from the coconut tree, right? If you pluck a poisonous berry from a coconut, from a mango tree, then you will cut it down, right? If 10 people die because of eating mangoes, you will cut the tree down. And if a mango, you can say, well, you know, this year because of some infections, this mango tree produced deadly poisonous mangoes. Let's wait for next year, for 100 years, for 200 years. If it's producing poisonous mangoes and people are dying, what do? Your humanity is dying, what do? So, see, this is, while theoretically it sounds a very convincing argument, I'm someone who thinks in terms of historical experiences, not in terms of theoretical notions, right? What has religion done in history? For example, I fully agree with the criticism of religion by Karl Marx, and I wanted to state all this at the beginning, but I thought time will get out of hand. Karl Marx asks a question. Has the church, he is criticizing only Christianity, he doesn't criticize any other religion. He asks a simple question. When has the church stood with the oppressed, the victimized, the marginalized, the poor, the exploited? Has not the church, leave alone Christianity, I'm not talking about Christianity, I'm talking about the church. Marx is talking about the church. Marx had great respect for Jesus Christ, but he had utter contempt for the church. He says the church historically has always been an instrument in the hands of the socio-economic political elite to keep the poor people in chronic, unending oppression and exploitation. I cannot disagree with Marx because that's a historical reality. Right? Now, in the name of Guru Nanak, in the name of Jesus Christ, and I see a lot of similarities between them, both of them were totally egalitarian. We have created a caste system. Christianity is as cursed with the caste system as Hinduism is. There is caste system in Sikhism, isn't it? How can you create caste system and tolerate caste system in Sikhism? In Christianity, my religion, you cannot think of Christianity without the caste. Where is Christianity? Surely this is not what Jesus Christ envisaged. This is not the Christianity of the Bible. So we can switch arguments according to the context and say, well, you know, Jesus Christ did not recommend casteism. But the fact is that castes are practiced and people are oppressed within Christianity by caste. And that was what made me 30 years ago take a stand against conversion. At that time, I came under a lot of attack. Globally, and I was attacked. Because I was the first priest in the history of Christianity to say that conversion must stop. Why? Because so long as there is caste in Christianity, you have absolutely no right to convert anybody from any religion, promising a casteless society, but actually oppressing him or her with the same malady. You understand? So there are two sides to it. Yes, if you go by theory, what you're saying is absolutely correct. But if you go by what is happening on the ground, then I'll have to request you to reconsider your assumption. Right? Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Joginder Singh ji, please tell us up. You raised your hand, Joginder Singh?
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Dr. Valson. Yeah, my question is, at the beginning, you said that all the prophets of realism, when they started their preachings, there may be ideas about all humanity or for better life or person or whatever. I think it was all, we think that they all had same, ideas about to make a good person. Now, my question is, except Guru Granth Sahib, whatever our gurus or preachers, they have, described, then they have authenticated it. It is in written. It is in black and white, I mean to say. Whatever they uttered, whatever they preached, whatever they've gone to the people, anywhere, after that, it was, complied, and it is there in our Guru Granth Sahib. Now, my question is, for other prophets, for other religions, from where we can find those truths which their founders, which their prophets, they have told to the people, they have given their preachings, because after that, everything was changed by the pujari, priest, as you said. So they have their own ways they described for their benefits, for their that time to have their publicity or whatever. So can you please, is there any source we can find those pictures, who that brought the things to that religion, let it be Muslims, Christianity, or whatever. So there are a lot of religions. So is there any source? That's my point.
Okay. Thank you, Joginder. You very strongly resemble the former chief of Indian hockey. What's his name? Anyway, when I saw your face, I forget his name now.
Thank you.
Balbir Singh.
That's it.
He's an ex-army man. So
yes.
That way.
Well, he stands like that. That's great. I love the way he stands and talks, and it makes a lot of sense. Well, I have to say that one of the most radical ideas I've included in my book, which I hope you will read and discuss, pertains to the question that my friend Joginder raised just now. There I have argued, and this is going to be controversial, I've argued that every religious community must become skeptical of its own scriptures. I'm sure it's not acceptable to you. I tell you why. You see, no religious leader, no founder of any religion wrote down any of the scriptures. Right? Not a single religious text written by the founder of a religion. All these religious texts, they're called canons. Canon means the measuring rod. Okay? All these religious scriptures were formed over a period of time. The Bible, for example, was formed over a period of 1500 years. And Christians say that every word in the Bible is inspired by the Spirit of God. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. It's a black lie. It's not even a white lie. Now, if you read some of the texts in the Old Testament, you will actually be shaken. God orders people to go and exterminate a whole race. I don't believe that it is God's order. I believe that it's an order from the devil himself. This idea of holy war, how does that agree with Jesus' teaching, put down the sword, he who takes the sword shall fall by it? Complete rejection of violence in all forms, in every circumstance, even in self-defense. Jesus did not allow use of violence even in self-defense. He says, put down the sword when Jesus is attacked by the army of the religious high priest at that time and the Roman army. His disciple Peter tries to defend him with the sword. He says, put the sword down. Not even in self-defense, right? And then you have a statement of the Old Testament, go and kill people. And Jesus goes on correcting many teachings in the Old Testament. So to say that all these things that are included in the Bible are inspired by the same God is absolute nonsense, right? So my assumption is, yes, scriptures are valuable, provided we don't treat them in all detail as divinely inspired, but as signposts to undertake a spiritual journey. The Christians are fond of saying that the Bible is the Word of God. I've stated clearly in my book that Bible is not the Word of God. Bible is a collection of wonderful spiritual literature which a person must read and study, but on the basis of which he has to seek the Word of God for himself. And that is to say, this is a religious revolution. I am saying the Word of God can be only between you and God. It will not come mediated through somebody else, right? So the problem that Joginder raised, the problem of the scriptures, I mean, he says that the primary scriptural material is all fine. I don't even believe that. There are serious problems with even primary religious literature. But secondary religious literature produced on the primary literature is fraught with serious problems, Now, in this context, I have to make a reference to what is called the sociology of religion from a sociological perspective. Now, Max Weber, in his very classic work titled Sociology of Religion, he says that the most dangerous stage in the development of a religion is the rise within it of the priestly class. When a priestly class arises within a religion, they hijack the entire spiritual tradition by doing three things. They monopolize the scripture, they distort it. Number two, they monopolize the rituals and practices. Number third, they monopolize the dogma. In other words, the priestly class exercises their hegemony on the three pillars of religion. All religions have these three pillars: scripture, rituals, dogma. Easy to remember. Just note down three words. These are the three pillars on which every religion sits: scriptures, rituals, dogma. Who controls all this? Priests. Now, does any scripture of any religion say that only the priestly class should use it or control it? No. It's a myth that they have created. Okay? And from then onwards, they will distort all of these, that is scripture, ritual, dogma, to suit their convenience. Okay? And therefore, the idea that my scripture is authentic and therefore I have to abide by everything that is stated in it is actually very dangerous. My suggestion to everyone is this, and that's what I do for myself. I accept only those things from my scripture which agree with my commitment to universal values. They are love, truth, justice, compassion. Any scriptural text which goes against it, I reject. I will not accept. Any text, primary or secondary, which obliges me to hate a non-Christian, I will not accept. Because I consider that to be ungodly, I consider that to be diabolic, satanic. It may be there in the Bible, but I will not accept it. Even if the highest religious authority tells me to do this, I will not do it. Because that fellow has no authority over my soul, only God has. And God is love, truth, justice, compassion. You understand? So to me, it's not a very complicated thing at all, Joginder. can you use your own humanity, your own conscience? You see, I believe that God has kept a witness to himself in your own soul. That's your conscience. Why do you believe that what is outside of you is all important and all light, and what is inside of you is all darkness? I believe the other way. God has kept a lamp, a source of light within my heart, my conscience. I will not do anything that violates my conscience. Okay, Joginda wants to say something more. Yeah.
Unmute kar.
Joginda, I can't hear.
Tell us, unmute karno, unmute.
Yeah, that's right. I understand. Now, we do understand. Not everybody now, in majority of people, are they at that standard to understand these things? How religions, they can, because this is the only people listen, those who are priests, pujaris, those who everyday life, that's creating so much. So how, where is it? This is all information. Where's the knowledge? Now this is different. So nobody has, there's nothing comes, you go on Facebook, you go on social media, this is all information. But knowledge, that's the main thing in the religions, that's not coming out. How that's how that can be brought to the everybody, normal people, those who don't understand all these things. Anyway,
that is a soldier's question, and that's why I said at the outset that it's dangerous to abandon religion into the hands of priests. Yeah. And well-meaning people like you and everybody else in this group must take upon yourself the responsibility to interpret your scriptures and to spread true religion. And not only that, create a wide coalition involving people from all religions who are similarly disposed. I can tell you today, disenchantment about religion is spreading like wildfire. It's an ideal time to create a global coalition for seeking true religion, which empowers humanity, enriches and ennobles us rather than corrupts us into mad creatures. It's not difficult. It's not,
yeah, that's right.
Harjinder Singh ji, please. Unmute. Please unmute yourself, Sardar Harjinder Singh. Please unmute yourself.
Sir, I think I'm unmuted now.
Yeah, okay. You are. I can hear you.
Sir, firstly, I'm grateful to Dr. Jagjit Singh for bringing Professor Valson in this weekly webinar. So, Professor Valson, you have been very much successful, and I appreciate the way you explained the situation very nicely and elaborately. But I'm still doubtful that the methodology explained by you is helpful in bringing a change in situation.
Yes.
And the circumstances. Though I know that the religion might have played a very good role, a better role in the early stages, but later on the king, the powerful, and the capitalist used it for their purpose.
Yeah.
But now a common man has been enslaved to such an extent. Do you think that this way you can change his mentality? Second, this is on all shoot of capitalism.
Yes.
And I have even seen that middle working class people, they are supportive of capitalism. Do you think people should understand the machination of capitalism for keeping common man ignorant and slave?
Yeah.
And how people can understand and transcend the religion and know the facts that religion along with capitalism has been responsible for enslaving a common man? And my third query is, our police class, knowingly or unknowingly, and this matter has been discussed also, they have been hand in gloves and have been supportive of those at the helm of affairs. And a common man is basically in the grip of priest.
Yes.
How this caucus is broken?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Thank you, Harjinder Singh. You have given me an anthology of questions. I would need a whole session to deal with, because all the questions that you have raised are supremely central and relevant and important. So obviously, right now I don't have the time to deal with all of them, but let me only say this much. Is it possible to make a difference? That is the essence of the first question that you raised. See, my methodology. What is my methodology? I'm only saying that every individual must assume responsibility for his own spiritual welfare. That's all I'm saying. Rather than look to prophets and priests, be your own prophet, your own priest. That's all that I'm saying. Right? You think it's impossible? I don't think so, because that's what I'm doing for myself. I do not any longer remain slave to my church or my community or whatever. I am today a free human being. I, of course, take my scriptures seriously, but also skeptically. As I said, only what agrees with my common sense I accept, and otherwise I don't accept. I don't hate, I don't despise, etc. Now, as to the meeting ground or the mutual complementarity between religion and capitalism, it's a huge subject. I can give a separate talk on that, but I can't deal with it in a short session in 1 minute or 2 minutes. And I approach this issue, I'll give you a hint, I approach this issue from the theme of alienation. Religion as alienation, which is a very interesting topic in itself. So, what is needed today? And the positive thing is, see, I have about 30,000 people following me on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I'm putting out material in order to liberate people in their religious thinking. And I can tell you, Harjinder, that people have changed a great deal. The extent of change that I have seen in the last year and a half is truly revolutionary. So I can't agree that change is impossible. I believe that change is the order of the day. It can be brought about, but all of us must accept the responsibility for being change agents, realizing also that being change agents is a risky thing. If we want to take the line of least resistance and avoid all inconvenience and risk to ourselves, then we will remain slaves. We'll become dependent and stay dependent on these people who are hijacking religion for diabolic purposes. Assume responsibility for your own eternal well-being. That's all I'm saying. Who can take care of you? You're not a child. When you were a little baby, your parents took care of you. Today, the priests are treating you like wet babies. It's a shame. Why can't you? You're educated people. Why can't you assume responsibility for yourself? So that's all I'm saying.
Mantu Jot Swaroop hai apna mool pehchan. Okay, Meena Singh ji. Meena Singh and then Dr. Gurnam Singh. Please unmute ji, Meena Singh ji.
Anji, thank you so much. Anji, Professor Saab, it is just such an enlightening presentation that you gave. I am totally, I have no words to express my gratitude. And I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, great. And, I like the idea when you mentioned, develop and envelop. And yes, it's important for us to democratize, the religion, because it was developed at the time when the feudalism was, which I learned from you, quite a bit. And also, topics that you have touched are very close to my heart. There's most of the time when I think of spirituality, love, truth, justice, compassion, they are the foremost virtues that any human being can have. And you spoke about the universal ideals, which are very, very close to my heart. And I wish that, when you mentioned that you are going to go beyond religion, and so, the spiritual aspect, I know you have touched it, but if you could enhance it a bit more, and sometimes in your next presentation, I would be really very pleased. And another thing, when you were talking about now you understand Hindi and Urdu a bit. So I'm
thoda.
हाँ जी, पर बहुत अच्छा बोले आप. And also, I just wanted to let you know I'm ex-student of Delhi University. And
yes, I thought you were an academic from the background. I see books, etc. You surrounded yourself by books.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and Professor Sir, when you mentioned, I'm reminded of Mirza Ghalib. He said, जब हर तरफ तू मौजूद है तो फिर ये हंगामा क्यों? So, and when you were just talking about this, I said, what a universal approach you have, and how much I have learned just in this one talk. I wish we could spend more time with you, and learn.
We'll have him again.
Yeah, and
read my book. Read my book.
Yes. Yeah, you mentioned the name of that book. I couldn't write it down. You said it's available at Amazon.
On a stormy course. On a stormy course.
On a stormy course. Oh.
On a stormy course. I published a book last month. That's also available on the Amazon, but that's an interpretation of the teachings of Jesus Christ, but from an enlightened point of view. Because as I said, reinterpreting the scripture must be one of the tasks that lay intellectuals must perform. Don't leave it to priests, because they will distort it. Yeah. So I've written this book mainly to correct Christian misunderstandings about the teachings of Jesus Christ. But if you're interested, they're all, my ideas are universal. It's titled Thoughts for Trying Times. Thoughts for Trying Times. That's also available on Amazon, amazon.in.
Trying Times. Yeah, it is such a, eye-opener, I must say. And looking forward to your next presentation in person would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
God bless. Greatly encouraged by what you're saying.
Kuldeep Singh ji chale gaye ke hage hai? I don't know. Kuldeep Singh had a question. He's a great guy against the Babas, but I think he had a question. He gave it in writing. If how many gods are there? If there is only one, why religion is preaching hate and kill other human beings of different religion?
Yeah. Okay.
bypass kar liya hun tusi?
Hanji. Nahi, tonu last vich rakhya hoya. You are at the end.
Okay, I'll just briefly deal with it. This is why in my talk I refer to anthropomorphization. That is, imagining God as individuals. Right now, if God is not reinvented in the form of human beings, you cannot have multiplicity of gods. Of course, you will say that in nature religions, abstract forces like fire, thunder, Agni, Vayu, etc., are turned into gods. That's fine. But there really is no quarrel about thunder or lightning or air or water in a religious sense. There may be a water dispute between states and nations. That's a different issue. But the moment a personal God is invented, or God is reinvented in the shape of human beings, problems begin. Why? Because then I invent God only after my own particular shape. I'm a Malayali, I'm a Keralite, I speak Malayalam. Therefore, my God must speak Malayalam. And because my God speaks Malayalam, he must who speaks only Punjabi and writes in the Gurmukhi script. It is as simple as that. And my God likes Malayali food, your God likes Sikh Punjabi food, right? So my God has all Malayali features, your God has Punjabi features. You see, some 3,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, a Greek thinker, I forget his name now, he said, if a horse is asked to create a portrait of God, God will look like a horse. In other words, it is not that God is creating us in his own image. We are creating gods in our own image. And because we are different from each other, we project our differences onto the person of God because we have already agreed that God is a person, right? So all persons are different, particular, and unique. They cannot have everything in common. So they must, and every human being must have his own demarcated territory, like lions marking out their territories. This is how religious wars are created, conflicts are created. The moment you shift the attention or focus from the person to the attribute. Now, this is a very important argument. God can be experienced by us only through his attributes. Now, for example, if I have to now think of Jagjit, will I think of him only in terms of a turban and this pair of glasses you are wearing, etc.? Or will I think of you as someone who is also seeking some spiritual light? Why did you take the initiative to bring people together? Why are you creating this weekly discussions, etc.? What is more important for me, your turban or your thought? You understand? Therefore, when I understand you only in terms of your turban, and your thought doesn't matter to me, I'll fight you. The trick that the priestly class has made is it has convinced you and everyone, convinced me, that turban is more important than thought. Because they cannot think. It's as simple as that. When, as one of our participants said, when great intellectuals were at the forefront of religion, then religious disputes, religious wars were fewer, though there were still religious wars, but they were fought not because of religious thinking, but because of political considerations. You see, two countries, in England, for example, there was a tussle between the Catholics and Protestants for political control. Mary's Queen of Scots, Elizabeth, etc. So one queen determined whether or not England would be a Protestant country. If the other, Mary's Queen of Scots, had become politically ascendant, England would have been a Catholic country, so on and so forth. So these are all extraneous political considerations. England did not become a Protestant country for religious reasons. It became a Protestant country because Henry VIII wanted to remarry. It's as stupid as that. But it becomes a huge religious issue. It is misrepresented. So therefore, the idea that there are many gods, etc., and therefore we must keep separate places for separate gods, and we must hold banners for our gods and fight each other. This is all the stupidity arising out of a distortion of the idea of God as specific individuals who are like us, selfish and political in nature, quite happy to create trouble and catch fish when the water is dirty.
Thank you. Dr. Gurnam Singh, I think at the end. I kept you at the end. Sorry for that. Kept you waiting for the questions.
It's okay. That's fine. That's fine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very well.
Professor,
yeah.
You have done a wonderful job. Thanks. And I'm a sociologist. And you have mentioned the books of Max Weber and others, and sociology of religion, etc. And I agree with your whatever your thoughts were, and the way you have mentioned about religion. And I think I don't need to repeat all that. What I'm saying is, as you have said, that we have to become our own ambassadors. One, I will say that people sometimes say, man is the image of God. I say no. If he is in our image, then it will be entirely different.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
Secondly, I'll also mention that, as you have said about Christianity, possibly John Hick of Birmingham.
Yes, I know him.
Yeah, you know him. And I have met him many times during my research. Yes. And he once wrote, while we were talking, I said, what about Christianity, all this religion and God? He said that Jesus is the Son of God. He took it lightly and he said, if he is actually the Son of God, then he must be a bastard. Because God can't be a man or human being and can't be a son of God. So he meant it was, as you have said, we are not the slaves of the paper. We are the slaves of Gyan, knowledge. information, theology, all that. We are of that philosophy. So that's what is important. And also, I'm not saying that Sikh religion is the best, others are not. All religions are doing the same. All prophets did a good job. And generally, whatever I'm the follower of, I naturally will appreciate it. That's natural. But I'll say that Guru Nanak's knowledge, or you can say whatever, ultimate reality, or from where he got all these ideas, was compiled while he was going around. He used to have a diary. He used to write his poetry. And he also used to collect. Similarly, it went up to the 5th. They were writing, it was written at the same time. Then the 5th Guru Arjan Ji, that's edited. And then the last one, 6th Gurus, that was 9th Guru, his Bani, by Guru Gobind Singh. It was that. So it is the actual scripture, is the actual written one, which was written at the time. So that's unique. As you were mentioning that others are not, but this is the unique one. And also you mentioned that religion must tell about or fight against inequality, as you have mentioned, or the excesses in life, tyranny, victimization, and others. And I'm fascinated by that Guru Nanak, as you have appreciated as well, that he was the ground reality, right? Grounded among the people, and especially the ones which were the majority, which were working class, peasants, farm laborers, and all that. And he said on page 15 of Guru Granth Sahib that I am the lowest of the lowest. But my sympathy and the heart lies with the lowest. And I don't care about the rich, because God showers his or her blessings upon the poor, and he resides there. So there we agree, all of us. Now the question is, as many of the professors others have mentioned, that as there was no priestly class among the Christians as well, we didn't have any of that priestly class, but we have got it now. And once the religion is institutionalized, then all these problems arise.
That's right.
And Guru Sahib said that there shouldn't be gurus, but now the people say it's so huge, so complex, and so forth. So as you have said, ultimately, that we have left religion at the mercy of those people. I won't go too far as you are saying. I agree. It's their business. And it's a nexus, as you have said, between the capitalism and these priestly classes. It has been in history, and nowadays it's the same. Doesn't matter which religion. So how to salvage this religion from this priestly class? This is the problem, huge problem, because Guru Nanak said that everything is fine, but the subjects, the people, they are blind. Andhi rahiyat gyan kahuni means all these people are blind, and so they don't have any knowledge. As you have said, coalition, yes. If we can have, but we don't. Sometimes, now I'll say in a joke, I'm a visiting professor in India, and I talk to many. And my PhD is, by the way, in interfaith relations from a Sikh perspective. Long time back. So when I go there, most of the professors, they will talk against each other. And they won't, I doubt if they can cooperate thoroughly, wholeheartedly with more than 4 or 5. They have got their unique, everybody is different. So even among the, I differentiate, because I also studied in England. I'm a British citizen. I studied here at UBC. I've seen 3 different systems. But still, British and this North American is far better in a sense. At least they have got some conscience. They can dare questions. In India, you can't. They are jealous. Not jealous, even they are inimical to each other. How will they do it? They won't. That's also the issue. And also in this globalized world, in this, I say, it's consumerist society. We have fallen prey to that. We are not prepared to sacrifice anything.
Yes,
it's me. As you have mentioned about India, you have said it very correctly. I agree with you. You have named all those rising corporates. What's happening there? And you have said also, I have written against all those that it's going to be shipwrecked. I won't quote all that.
Yeah.
So I agree, and most of the people agree with you, that how to salvage religion from this priestly class. And it seems sometimes in Sikhism, you must do your own prayer. This is mandated, but we don't care. And they will go to the priest, they will say, do this prayer. I say, can't you do it yourself? They said, what do you mean? I said, go, stand up before the Guru Granth Sahib and say whatever you want. There's no technicality in that.
Yes,
if you want to speak to God, speak directly in your own language and with your open mind. Say, this is my problem. This is what I want. So why you have the agent? God doesn't want any agent. We need to be directly linked with that spirit. As you are saying, transcendence will come only when you are directly related, connected with that spirit.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying, transcendence. Otherwise, it's not happening. So we are falling prey to that. And I said, I think we need to really cooperate with each other on these terms. And also, I want to point out one thing about Gandhi. You have said. That's lastly, I will shorten it. I think he was religious and he was using religion as politics as well. Because at that time, the total Indian civilization at that time or culture, it was national liberation from the British Church. But that was used, now that's being misused as nationalism.
Yes.
That's also the snag. And Gandhi used to say, Gita is my mother. Yes. If Gita is his mother, that he was using. And he also once said, Guru Gobind Singh, I am not on that issue that I am against him, but he was such a person. He said Guru Gobind Singh was really distracted Desh Bhagat. This was wrong. He only did Khalsa Sajana. It was done only. That was the last resolution where everything fails. Then you need to defend yourself. And he did it. And he stopped all that. So I think we need to take up arms ourselves, but for justice, for equality. And equality also dynamic one, as you have mentioned it. Yes. I always say all these reservations, equality is fraudulent. Yes, it doesn't give equality. It doesn't go with the times. And you are left behind. So we need to have further talk about this. I agree with you. And we should have more dialogue with each other. And I'll like to read some of your books as well. And that's great. I think we need to cooperate with each other and have the coalition.
Yes.
But sometimes when people say that sometimes religion will evaporate, that it will be different. No, it will stay the same because the system as it is, the system won't allow it to be free. We need to free it from the exploitative system, which is exploiting everybody.
Yes, exactly.
It doesn't matter it's religion or what. So we need to fight lastly, we need to fight at two fronts.
Yeah.
Really at the ground reality level of, you may call it politics, or you may call it socio-economic system, or the environment in which we live. So we need to clean the environment, socio-religious, cultural, political as well. So that's why my thought. I'm sorry I've taken so much time. And
no, it was worthwhile. It was worthwhile listening to you. I'll end the session by quoting a sentence from Jesus Christ, and that will be the last words. He said, prostitutes will be saved, but not priests.
Very true. I have read that.
Okay.
So, and these politicians are prostitutes. Sorry for that.
Thank you, Professor Valson. Thanks a lot. We have taken a lot of your time.
Can I have your
2 hours? We will have another session on. There are many topics which we have touched.
I need his cell. Have you, Dr. Valson, can Dr. Jagjit Singh give me your cell number?
Yes, certainly. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I like to dialogue with you occasionally.
I will get it.
Sure.
Okay,
sure.
Thank you.
I thank you, Professor Valson. I think it is already more than 2.5 hours.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
With us. So it's quite a long time, and he woke up, well, he said he wakes up early. So I don't go that way because I'm an early riser too. So I take his word. And really, there are many, I have a lot of topics listed for him and to discuss and other things, though I didn't get a chance to ask many questions or anything, comments or any, but still I highly appreciate his talk. And this is really a topic which is very close to my heart about equality of humanity and opportunities, and even the how powers are given from generation passed on to generations. Even that is a problem. The heritage is a problem, even in caste system, even in economics, even others, that creates more unequal opportunities. There are a lot of things. Well, I will definitely take him again, and we will have discussion on some specific topic. And I thank again Professor Valson. It was really a nice talk, and from on behalf of the society and everybody. And thank you everyone for participating. So, thanks.
And greetings to everyone, and not only just who participated, but everybody related to you in your acquaintance. Please convey my humble greetings to everyone. May God set us free from our religious enclaves and then allow us to be united in love as human beings. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you,
Professor.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best.